Hi, good morning, everybody. It was so good to see everybody again regarding of our nice lecture Saturday to learn a little bit more about, you know, how to prevent all the issue we have when we have pre-diabetic diabetes, or how not to get yourself into the issue of have pre-diabetic diabetes. And today webinar is important. That's the reason why, because a lot of people don't realize when they have pre-diabetic, majority of them will usually have the second stage to start getting high blood pressure. Now, a lot of people, if you don't take care of that, the pressure will continue to go up to 160 and ongoing to be 160 and get higher and higher. And if you stress, the blood pressure can go higher. Now, you're not under medication control. You can be an issue while you're traveling into different country. And if you have a diabetic crisis, what do you do? So I thought perhaps today we have a lecture to provide you to get some understanding, because we have a lot of our client pre-diabetic or diabetes. They do actually travel. They want to find out, well, what do I do if I have high blood pressure? Especially when the blood pressure is already, the always ongoing is going at like 160 already, or maybe slightly higher, but they're not in the crisis yet. However, when you're traveling, you suddenly can go very high. And then that's something that you need to really gotta watch. Now, one of my clients actually, his blood pressure has been high. They thought that he was really under control, and he does take my medication. But when he traveled to, while he was on an airplane, he get nervous. When he go to a new place, he got start even more nervous, and things start changing. So his blood pressure will start going up higher, higher. So at the end of the day, lucky, I told him that, hey, you got to have your medication. So he actually took his medication. If he doesn't take his medication, his blood pressure might go as high as 200, 220, 230. Now, the thing is, the real issue is if you don't take care of that, you might have a CVA, which is like a stroke. You don't want to be in a stroke in a foreign country, because that is the real issue. When you are stroke in somewhere in a foreign country, wow, you can talk, maybe because the stroke on the left brain or whatever the area, you need really people to take care of you. You have to do it right away to get yourself treated. And you don't want that stroke to be more and more serious. Wow, that is going to be a real complicated issue. So that's the reason why I thought perhaps today will give you some understanding. If you have already high blood pressure, already in the existing blood pressure that you are already there, and how can you do it to ensure you to have all the system tips, set it up and protect yourself so you don't get into hypertension crisis. So you can able to make sure you don't end up with stroke, heart attack, all this complication come along. Because it will be not funny when you get there in a foreign country to have that. You don't know the doctors, you don't know where to go, you're in a hotel room, and you have now getting to a very serious sickness situation. Wow, that is something that you don't want to be like in that position to be yourself, to sort of handle it with your family or whatever. It's not a good situation. So today our lecture is basically based on that, to give you that information, so that way you can well prepare and you can enjoy your trip all the time and no worry, basically. Okay, so let's start with our lecture today. Okay, today we talk about how do you manage high blood pressure while you're traveling. Now, you might say, gee, do I really have to know that? Yes, because the problem is a lot of times if you don't prepare that, you might be an issue that you don't know, and you get into trouble, and it's going to be tough. So that's why we're going to talk about, the introduction. What is high blood pressure? What do you consider you are really in that category? You need to check and be prepared and work on it, and make sure you don't get yourself into that situation without no preparation. And also, before you travel, what kind of pre-trip preparation you will basically need to do. And as you know, when you travel, you really want to have some fun, right? So with that, you would need to understand, okay, if I really get into the emergency situation. Well, what can I do and who do I work with and so forth. And you really have to have some kind of strategy work with while you're in the airplane, while you're road trip, what happened. And at the end, they will also what Lowsutea can help you along the way. And then we'll have some conclusion and Q&A. Actually, at the end of the day, sometimes I found out that even in the airplane, because we have several incidents in airplane, people actually got into heart attack or go into a hypertensive situation or convulsion. And I have a patient, I have one experience, actually, this person actually also passed out and died. And we do CPR on this person and revive him. It worked. And then we have to go land in somewhere else and then get this person off to go to emergency hospital. I mean, this is something that really can be very scary. And I found that in very sophisticated airplane, they don't have much equipment to help you, even including the blood pressure gauge, the one that you measure blood pressure. They still need to have a stethoscope to listen to the blood pressure. I said, my goodness, lucky we have one so-called automatic, blood pressure cuffs, which can listen to the person blood pressure by electronically. So net result, you can get the blood pressure. But the person actually died. So the blood pressure come out as error. So we know this guy is actually no more blood pressure. So we have to do CPR, get him started, and da-da. Oh, man. And unfortunately, also found out that majority of people in the airplane, for the stewardess, have no idea what to do. So end up, we have called people. Is that doctor? That two doctors comes out, and then we can help. So we kind of work as a team together to get this guy going. And it's lucky this person is young, and the person heart pumped back again. But it's a very stressful situation. We work with this person, just CPR for 45 minutes. It's not fun, okay? So you don't want to be in that mode. So that's why I thought that perhaps you really, basically work on to prepare yourself. And I think that's the reason why I think this lecture will be helpful for everybody to understand and really, get yourself prepared. That would be really wonderful. So, I saw a lot of people today not really, I know the name, so they must be new to us, but it's okay. I spent a couple of minutes just to do, catch up the 4 stage of diabetes so you understand. So what we're talking about. Now, first of all, as you know, majority of people who start off is really the LDL cholesterol goes up, and then it damaged the B cells. The insulin comes out of the B cell. B cells supposed to help you to get the insulin, get the sugar to the cells when the B cells are damaged. So the insulin doesn't really work well anymore with the sugar going to the cell. So net result of that, your blood sugar will continue goes up. Now that the problem start going, the LDL cholesterol and the sugar mix together, the blood becomes thick. When the blood becomes thick, you will very quickly move to stage 2. Now that's where every pre-diabetic, a diabetic patient will most likely have this kind of problem. And you're going to start form plaques everywhere, the entire body. And then this plaque will start getting less area on your blood vessels, so the blood pressure start going up. Most likely you start off with 130. If you don't take care of it, it's continue to go up bigger, higher and higher. Eventually go to 160 and even higher to 180. Now, with that, you need to have medication. You cannot just stop, say, I don't want to do anything, just exercise. It won't work. Really, you have to think about maybe use the medication to control your hypertension. Now, if you don't do anything, the lifestyle do not change, well, most likely you also will start getting a diabetes is coming along. So really, at the end of the day, if you're and all doctor will be always measure your pre-diabetic in a hemoglobin, how many percent of sugar attached to the hemoglobin. If you're pre-diabetic, if you have 5.7 below or to 5.7, you are still normal. But if you have 5.7% of sugar attached to the hemoglobin to 5.7 to 6.4, you are pre-diabetic already. Now, when you're pre-diabetic, unfortunately, there's no medication for you. The doctor will tell you, hey, you are already pre-diabetic. You need to take care of yourself by changing lifestyle, don't eat too much sugary food, do exercise and so forth. Now, the doctor usually give you some general information. However, I found majority of my clients really don't have enough knowledge to encourage them to do more and really take this seriously. End up, they did not really work on it because there's no medication for that. And at the end of the day, they don't do much, the same old lifestyle, 2 to 3 years, they convert to diabetes. So that's why Lowsutea really can help you, because during this stage, or even before this stage, you can actually drink Lowsutea and you can actually lower your blood sugar, cholesterol. So net result, your number will be below the diabetes stage, maybe 6 or close to 5.7, even go back to normal. And again, you will learn yourself how to change the lifestyle. You start going to control your diet, control your your weight. You can start lower your weight to 10% or more. And then you can exercise and also measure blood sugar and track. So majority of them delay all that. They actually never got down to 6.4. I think this is really important. You got to learn that. And this is the time it can help you to really get you to not move beyond the 6.4. So you don't want to be in the diabetic stage. And after that, you once you're diabetic, insurance goes up, everything goes up. And so when you change your lifestyle, you can definitely do real well. So you don't want to get yourself in stage 4. And why during the stage 3, you're pre-diabetic to drink Lowsutea? Because Lowsutea has only 2 things. It just have guava leaves, which is delay the absorption of sugar into the blood vessels. And then bitter melon, which increasing the sugar, increasing the sensitivity of the insulin, so take back the sugar in the cell, so the cells get energy, the fuels, if you will. But the excess sugar that's really neat is to actually dump that out in urine, the cholesterol dumped out, and the salt dumped out. When the salt dumped out, you know what? Blood pressure comes down. Plus, they help you detox. That's why drinking Lowsutea can really help. And it's very simple. All you do is 6 to 8 glasses a day of Lowsutea in a little bottle, drink a whole day long, and you can hydrate yourself, and your blood will be actually not so thick also. It's really healthy. Now, we don't want to just tell you to drink Lowsutea, because really at the end of the day, we have a whole 5 program. We'll show you how to take low-carb diet, low-fat diet. We'll ask you to do exercise 8 to 10 steps per day, 8 to 10,000 steps I'm talking about. And, you might say, wow, it's going to hard. Actually, it's not easy. It's not hard. Actually, it's very easy, but you just do it gradually. Maybe first to 3,000, after that 4,000, and then 5, and eventually reach 10,000. And a lot of my clients now, you know what they do? They actually go to have walking at nighttime after dinner, to go to work on a shopping mall. So that's all done. And we have clients also say, hey, outside is snowing or rainy or stormy, and they have a step master at home doing the same thing. And they have a barbell, they do this one, and up and down, do 30 to 1 hour. They got the exercise. So you can do that. And plus you have here my webinar every week, the doctor webinar every week, so we can teach you about all the idea, understand how to control your blood sugar, cholesterol, and blood pressure. And plus you got to track your daily blood sugar, cholesterol. You might not be able to track cholesterol, but you can also jot down your blood pressure. You take it early in the morning and also at night, so you understand before you go to sleep. So understand what you have. Now we have many patients, our client, A1C even as high as 10 plus. They actually start drinking Lowsutea, changing lifestyle. They drop down to 5.7 or drop down to below 6, which is they will be less all the potential problem with diabetic complications. So this really works, and it's a good stuff, and you can actually do it. So that's why we want to make sure empower you with all the knowledge. You can act, and that's the key. So let's talk about the actual subject. Well, what is high blood pressure anyway? Now, high blood pressure, by the way, is called hypertension, okay? So it is a very common thing, though, in a way that many people do have it, especially when they get older. And the basis is the arteries, blood pressure, because when you get your blood pressure goes here up, and then that is the high systolic pressure, and then when the remaining pressure is called diastolic pressure. So when the diastolic pressure here and go up, the systolic pressure and diastolic, meaning the remaining pressure. So if you are hypertension, that means your blood pressure is all go up to 160 and higher, 180 now. You are now hypertension. And if you continue have that, actually will damage your blood vessels and also increase the possibility of stroke and heart attack and kidney disease, kidney failure, actually, because the blood pressure cannot continue to be high. It damages your body organ, okay? Now, as I mentioned earlier, people who went to travel and then they didn't know hypertension, they don't measure themselves, and they suddenly become very serious high blood pressure. So really, you got to treat right away because you cannot wait, if you will. If you don't do anything, it won't get well. It just continue to be high blood pressure. So it is a pressure that is important. You have to do something. So today, the webinar will teach you how to prevent this situation to go up to a hypertension crisis, okay? So that is the thing. While you travel, you don't want to be in hypertension crisis, okay? You want to be in normal blood pressure, 130 and below, and your diastolic pressure should be about 80 or 90, no more than 90 and above. So in other words, your remaining pressure, no more than 90, and the systolic pressure, no more than 130, and go back to below 90. So it should be 120 over 80. So all the time. So, or even slightly higher, but 125 is okay. The key is you want to continue to maintain this good blood pressure, okay, rather than high pressure. Now, you might say, well, I am flying, I travel by airplane and it's going to go up to high altitude. So would I have problem? Now, really, at the end of the day, as you know, when you are flying airplane, the plane is actually pressurized. So the chances for you to get high altitude type of symptom are less, except you fly a plane not pressurized, meaning that one of those engine prop plane, maybe not pressurized, you might have that problem. But majority of the jet airplane now is all pressurized, so you're not going to have a problem. Now, as you know, when you go up to high altitude places, you might experience headache, you might get nauseated, you got a headache, it's so bad, you have to take medication. You have to also take diuretic type of medication. So you have to put a high altitude type of medication to help you to relieve the symptom. Like if you go to Lhasa, if you have high altitude, you might actually need oxygen, so that is the thing. So flying most likely will not affect you that much at high altitude because the plane is being pressurized. And so many of those issues, you are not to be there. Now, however, when you're flying with high blood pressure, when you're flying, and the issue is several things that you need to keep in mind. First of all, in the cabin, maybe the oxygen are not as high level. Then it does actually, with less oxygen, you might end up straining your heart. And then you might actually, because when your heart is stressed up, then your blood pressure goes up. You know why? Because your heart is saying, I need to pump more oxygen to the cells. They go boom, boom, boom. So they pump more, press more. Your heart rate will go up, and then the blood pressure also goes up. Okay, that's one thing. Now, also, when you're flying, you also have a risk of what they call a deep vein thrombosis, DVT, meaning because you're not moving, you sit there for 10 hours or 15 hours. So you don't move, your blood are not circulating, especially elderly person. Then if you don't circulate blood enough, you start forming clot, and net result, your blood pressure goes up also, and the clot might enter your lung, which you're going to end up with pulmonary embolism. And then if you really got that, you might be fatal, and that's scary, okay? I think there's quite a few news elderly that, they got thrombosis. That's why every 1 to 2 hours, you should just walk around. Even you don't need to go restroom, but at least walk around. go up and down the aisle, you can able to do that. And plus, it might be potential dehydration. You know why? Because airplanes are very dry. So you have to have hydration to make sure that, get your hydration so you don't get blood pressure issue. If you don't take enough fluid, your blood becomes thick. So they make the heart to pump more because the blood becomes thick. You have to pump harder. So we pump harder. You know what? The blood pressure goes up. So these are the things that, flying a long flight, this is not 1 or 2 hour flight. I'm talking about every flight going over 3 to 4 hours. You need to start looking into that. Now, another thing when you're flying, when you fly with high blood pressure is because you might be say, hey, also I can be potential very sensitive high altitude. And some people do, okay? More on not just because the altitude high, but there's a psychological effect to some people when they're nervous. So they will start saying that, wow, I'm scared. And so net result, you really start, psychological effect that your heart will come faster and go boom, boom, boom. And net result, your high blood pressure might occur because you are really worried. You're stressed out, okay? 2 is a lot of people travel, like many time zones, and they forgot to take the pill. That's happened. Because basically from Hong Kong to the United States, the time zone has all changed. And then, when I fly at nighttime or daytime, next time your arrival is actually during the day already, not the same time like you need to take the medication. So a lot of people actually forgot to take the medication. That's the most common thing. But you have to calculate back where and when you take the medication. Also, the stress and anxiety of travel may be one item because of the fact that when you travel, you also have stress and pressure, especially you're doing transit flight, whereby you have to rush one point to another point to ensure you get the right flight, and also the flight with the bag with you together. So all that thing will give you, you have to run to the gate or whatever, that blood pressure will goes up. And certainly also fluid tension, since you're flying a long flight, maybe fluid will be retented, and so your leg starts swelling. I don't know, you realize some of the elderly folks traveling, I saw many of those, the leg become really swell up. So really because of that, you might have complicated high blood pressure. And that's why sometimes I met this elderly lady. I said, wow, your leg is really swell up. And you press on it, you really get dent in. I said, you might have to need to walk around a bit. And after she walked around a bit and stuff like that, it was a little better. It's not really as swell as bad. And so net result, those are the things that you really need to work on while you're traveling a long, long flight. And so really at the end of the day, you also need to think about, well, what I'm going to do before my trip. So I need a plan to consider all the things before your trip. How do you prepare that? Okay. So you have to really think about the type of illness you have and the symptom you might have. And then really, will it affect you? Like, for example, I go to a very hot place, maybe somewhere in Southeast Asia, very hot, very humid. And net result of that, when you heat, your blood pressure goes up. And you might also get dehydrated. You might get dizziness, you're faint. So for people with high blood pressure, you need to think about that. If you have high blood pressure, if you go to this place, make sure you always have a very cool, help you to cool yourself out, get fan, and make sure you don't get yourself into a situation that you are so overheated and dehydrated and you fainted. Plus, you have basically you go to places where a lot of extraction, go to a lot of hill climbing, for example, terrain is steep and all that. So if you have that, for example, a friend of mine go to Lhasa, which is in China, is way up in a mountain. There are a couple of things that he didn't realize. Now he is actually a 60-somewhat years old, but he's healthy and all that. But because of the high altitude, is high, is 10,000 feet above, when he do that, he didn't realize that one, first of all, you have to go all the steps, go up to, the temple, Lhasa, a lot of those monk temple. So those steps is like 3,000 to 4,000 steps to go up. Sometimes it's just smaller ones, it's 300 steps. But once you go to 300 to 1,000 steps, for example, you cannot go 300 steps. I don't want to go because you have to walk back down to 300 steps. So you got to think about, can you commit to 1,000 steps first of all? If you cannot, maybe that's not the place to go. Maybe you should go to places a lesser height, okay, lesser climb mountain. Okay, also, you have to go for places that have good restroom facility for you, because when you are really hypertensive, you will have a lot of time have what they call diuretic, water relieving medication. So you have to go urination a lot. Now, the problem is if you have urination a lot and that places have no urination facility, like a restroom for you, so what are you going to do? Really terrible, because you have no place to go, right? So all that thing you have to consider in the plan. And my friend who go to Lhasa has an issue, because when you go up the steps, it's a long step. There's no restroom either. So net result, he has to go to restroom. He really commit halfway. He cannot go restroom, nowhere to go. And either you go up higher and you got to come back down. So there's no elevator either. So net result is going to be tough, because after 300 steps, you can't make it, you have to go back down. So really, these are things that you want to make yourself already. Make sure you don't get that kind of situation for yourself. It's not good for you. And also, the hotel accommodation. Is it really something that you can be if you're high blood pressure? Because you're high blood pressure, you don't want to walk a lot of steps, go to 4 or 5 story. Same thing that another friend of mine who went to Europe, and now he has also hypertension, and he didn't realize the hotel they stay is in the 4th floor, but that's no elevator because it's old Europe. So he cannot, every day he has to go up to 4 story, walking story, and because there's no elevators. So net result, since there are no elevators, you have to walk upward, as really a stress room. And when you get up to the upper 4th floor, his blood pressure went up very, very high. And you don't want to get that, because that is basically really not for yourself. So you really ask the hotel, hey, can I get a bedroom in the bottom of the hotel, ground floor? Rather you stress yourself, go up there, and then end up you will hurt yourself. That's not really good. So all that need planning. And you have to ask the hotel to help you. Now, especially when you go to Lhasa, my example, they go up to 10,000 feet now above sea level. And when you go up to Lhasa, 10,000 feet of sea level, oxygen is less. So you know what? If less oxygen, your heart will pump harder. Boom, boom. You're going to get a headache. You're going to have lightness. In other words, you have dizziness. And then you really physical stressing your heart really tough. And matter of fact, Lhasa sell you a bottle of oxygen for you to use. So you have that kind of condition, I will not suggest you to go. Basically, you should go to places only 1,000 feet or 300 meters. So really reduce the chances you have high altitude sickness and stressing your heart. Because when you get older, again, you are not necessarily able to handle that. So that's why I was saying, I wish I had gone to Lhasa when I was 30 years old. Because now it's going to be tough, right? So high altitude country will be someplace like Peru, as I mentioned, China already, Switzerland also. So all those places, you have to consider whether this is a high altitude for you. And do they have support when you don't have enough oxygen and medication and or medical facility? I can tell you a lot of people go to Lhasa, definitely a problem with headaches because the altitude is so high. It's got headaches so bad they can't bear it, and they have to take medication. They take medication to help them to relieve the headache and so forth. So it's a high altitude pills which you can get your doctor to subscribe for you. Now, so really at the end of the day, to prepare a trip, especially your high blood pressure, you have to talk to your doctor. That time, hey, I'm going to Lhasa or I'm going to this high altitude place. What medication I have? Or do I need extra medication to carry with me while traveling? Also, you have to check. How about travel insurance? Will it cover while you're there? And then you have to understand in those places what kind of healthcare facility during that time for your destination. Now, all these things you have to really check on to basically provide you to have some idea what to do. Now, so before you travel, you really have to basically, especially your high blood pressure, you have to prepare. In other words, you have to prepare just before you go. Now, we talk a lot about planning, understand the hotel size, or any step, where to go travel. I have to walk a lot of steps. You already talked about that. However, you need to, during your travel, you have to also prepare, like, addition to, like, for example, do you have snacks to travel? Now, you have to drink water, but you don't want salty snack. You know why? Salt retain water and it will drive up your blood pressure. So you don't want that. So really you have to have something like not a lot of salt type of snacks, food. Actually, it would be good to low salt or no NO salt snack food. And also you have to do, like, for example, you every time you go travel with a long trip, you got to do stretching exercise, walking exercise, stretch your leg and all that. Plus, you have to be prepared yourself, wear comfortable shoes and also clothing, or not overheat yourself. You have to make cool, comfortable clothing so not overheat yourself. Especially go to Southeast Asia, which is moist and wet, because high humidity, you got to have all that prepared for you. And plus, do not drink a lot of alcohol on the airplane, and that is something that is not good. Plus, a lot of caffeine. All these things will drive up your blood pressure. And also, you have to be really learn about not stress yourself. So you have to stress management, avoid the stress. You need to have bring activity like reading a book, listen to good music. All these things will be a thing to help you to relax. Now, a lot of people don't realize we all have a cell phone, and a cell phone has music you can put in there and enjoy that classical or whatever music you enjoy to relax yourself. That will help you to relax. So you close your eye, do some meditation to help you to continue to do that. And that is something that always you could do. So make sure that you do that, because don't just go, okay? You have to have some preparation. Now, also a trip, you have to also got, beside your snack, you have also dietary consideration. You have to ask the airplane to give you low salt diet. So you cannot go to just go, but you ask the airplane to prepare that. They will do it for you. Or you might want to eat more fruit, stuff like that. And you have to pack really healthy snack, especially diabetic, pre-diabetic patient. You have to have low sugar snack. You can go to wherever your common supermarket or Costco, whatever, buy those snacks. Make sure read the label. This is low sugar, low salt, okay? And you need to also monitor your blood pressure. And in order for you to monitor blood pressure, you have to get a portable blood pressure cuffs. Nowadays, they have even portable blood pressure cuffs going here, and you can able to measure blood pressure all the time while in a flight. Rather than get one with a stethoscope that doesn't work, this is electronic. And this come up with very accurate. And net result, you can understand, am I really high blood pressure? Now, when you, and this is only a smaller gadget, by the way, you can buy. And I saw it now about maybe less than $100. You can buy one, US, I'm talking about, and you can do that. And I also traveled one with myself. It's a small little cup like that, and then you hook on your arm, and you can get pretty good, accurate blood pressure. Also, you can go to a neighborhood pharmacy store in some European country. They also take a measure blood pressure. Now, if you really always have high blood pressure, you're diabetic, you need to wear your medical ID so you're fainted. People can help you understand what's going on. Now, this is very important. Next step is you got to store your medication with you, not on the luggage. Because I have an actual incident, not me, but one of my clients, high blood pressure, diabetes, but the medication, it went on the what? The luggage, the big luggage went check in. Unfortunately, luggage lost for a few days. So this person has no medication. Blood pressure went up and da da da. And I said, you gotta go to hospital or doctor to get medication. And in some country, like European country or other country, might not easy get a high blood pressure medication. And lucky, I told him ahead of time, write down the medication you are taking, so at least he have the sheets, he can show it to the pharmacy to buy some of the drugs. If not, he can be in big trouble. So always pack the medication with a label in your bag, hand carry bag, not to check in. And I have clients that actually took it with them, but they check it in the luggage. They got really put themselves in a very dangerous situation. And certainly you have to, if insulin, you might have to store it in a actual insulin cool pack because that has to be chill. So those things you have to also know, make sure you get some of those chill pack with you. And you have to stick onto medication schedule because I know travel time has changed. So count the time, make sure you take most of the people take the high blood pressure medication in the morning. But when you arrive that place, no longer morning, it's actually night. So you have to reschedule back, make sure you still go back to the mornings, taking a pill on time. And also, a lot of people say, I don't know, I forget. Well, it's okay because majority of us have a cell phone. And cell phone can actually set the time for you to remind you to take a medication. So you can do that. So write it down, plan. That's why you need to make a plan. Medication is very important. Okay, now if you have a kid to a high blood pressure, which is not too many, but you travel with them, their high blood pressure, then that's the same thing like the regular adult. So make sure they take the medication. Don't just ignore it, okay? Now, the thing is, you have to watch this sign. This is the most important because a sign of high blood pressure emergency situation is something like that happen. You got to really quickly get medical help. That's why sometimes you have to, medical band that say your high blood pressure, diabetes can be helpful. Now, you fainted unresponsive, you have the band. People say, oh, this guy is hypertensive, or he is diabetes, whatever. At least they know what kind of person are you. But if you start getting dizziness, you got to say chest pain, and you have severe headache, shortness of breath. Now, this is really become a serious situation. You got to get help. You cannot just wait, especially all these shortness of breath, severe headache, chest pain. That means you are beyond something that is a normal thing in hypertension. Especially, you got to go get help and get doctor, emergency. If you're an airplane, you have to ask as soon as it help you, and maybe you can get medical attention with doctors on board to help you. All that has to be done. Now, if you are having seizures, well, that's for sure. You're going to need help right away. But you start getting confused, anxiety, vision problem, get blur, if you will. You got nausea, vomiting. So these are additional signs you need immediate medical attention. So you need to contact, if you're an airplane, you have to contact stewardess. But if you're land, you have to look for medical emergency number you can call, like take you to the hospital. But all this facility phone number, you have to know ahead of time, or you can tell the hotel to call for you. All these things has to be known ahead of time. So really, very important when you go to hospital, you have to get with your sheets. I'm hypertension. This is the medication I'm eating. This is my last medication I took. And you got to write that down. Because when you go to the hospital, people talk to you. There might be a language problem. There might be just communication issue. But if you write it down, people can look at it. At least they can see, you have took your, medication when, and when is the high blood pressure started, what the signs and symptoms. Right now, it's easier to communicate. So because now might not be United States, maybe a foreign country, even more so you write it down. Because when you're stressed, sometimes you can't even talk rationally. So that is so important to do that, okay? Now, if your blood pressure is consistently over 180, 120, you should not be travel, because that means you really have a hypertensive emergency. So you should actually talk to the doctor, because you really can travel while your blood pressure at 180, 120. So you need to basically, with this situation, you are, or you have continued to have hypertensive crisis or ongoing always at 120, 180, the travel is not recommended. Now, also, you have recently a stroke, heart attack, or any serious cardiovascular problem related to high blood pressure, you should not be traveling either. Also, you have organ damage, like, for example, in your high blood pressure, you have chest pain, you have shortness of breath, you have kidney problem because of hypertension, you should not be traveling either. And also, you already blood pressure medication, and the doctor now adjusting that medication. And really, you got to understand this adjustment, what kind of side effect, because it will take about a few weeks for that medication to really see whether it works or not. So during this time, I would think that you should not be traveling. Plus, if you're struggling with management, a lot of, anxiety, got you to high blood pressure because you stress and anxiety, that should be also not to be traveled either. So with that, you need to talk to a healthcare provider, your doctors, really find out from them whether you are fit to travel. Because if you have all that mentioned above, then maybe not, you are not really fit to travel, then you might need to take a rain check for now until your blood pressure becomes more stabilized. So as you know, Lowsutea definitely will help you to lower your blood sugar, cholesterol, and blood pressure. So you have to continue to drink Lowsutea, because that will definitely help you. And on top of that, we make sure that you can ensure that your blood pressure are not in 180, 120 range. Should be at least a manageable range before your trip. So meaning that what is manageable is at least 130 and below, which is systolic blood pressure. Remember, this blood pressure go up, the systolic, diastolic is under 90, then it's okay. Always packed with medication. In other words, your blood pressure medication is very important. You have to enough medication. Don't shortchange yourself. You have to take at least 1 to 2 weeks more medication, because what happened, your flight doesn't work and you are delayed and you suddenly ran out of medication. You just took it. I traveled 2 weeks and you took exactly 2 weeks. That's not good. You should at least take 1 month medication with the hypertensive medication with you. So that way you always have medication in case your flight got delayed. You get able to take care of yourself while waiting for those flights. And you always have to maintain a very healthy habit while you travel. What I mean is you got to take low salt diet, low sugar snack, and make sure that you travel with all prepared medication. Make sure you have your emergency plan. Besides, eliminate all the salty food. You don't drink a lot of alcohol, not a lot of caffeine, because all those things will increase your blood pressure. Talk to your doctors. Make sure that get enough medication for you, to make sure that you know what risk you are getting at. So that way you can see your priorities of the risks that you might associate with. Like, for example, going up the hill, like going to 1,000 square foot, 10,000 feet high. You don't want to do that, because really at the end of the day, that may be too tough for you. Your heart cannot take it. So you got to talk to the doctor to do that. So if you are experiencing high blood pressure all the time, that is called medical emergency, then you really are not fit to travel. So you might need to not travel because you have that condition. So I hope today will give you a whole gamut of idea how to help yourself to not to take that risk. So if you have any question, write to us, andy@wahfong.com, andy@wahfong.com, or write to us or WhatsApp us 852-6792-8891, 852-6792-8891. That will help us to send us question. I'm usually answer the question. Pretty much everybody write to us will help to answer them. That will help you to better understand what we're trying to do. So I hope this lecture will give you a good understanding overall of what hypertension related to traveling and what you got to do to plan and ensure that you are safe, not to overstress yourself. So net result, you'll be always fun, enjoy your traveling. Okay, I hope this today lecture will help you to do a lot more understanding what we're trying to do here. So I hope that you have a nice weekend. So I talk to you soon. You take care and then have a good one. So make sure you travel, plan at a time.